another rainy day in Shenandoah National Park. It is Monday, December 30th, day 3 of our trip. We've got 2, possibly 3 hikes planned today. Some of it is weather dependent on visibility, but we're going to at least attempt Corbin Canyon and then also the Limberlost Trail. And then depending on how weather holds up, if we get socked in with fog again, we might bypass hiking to Hawksbill Summit, which is supposed to give you, commanding views of the park and the valley. But if we're at the top and can't see anything, then that's a little bit difficult. But there's about 15 overlooks that we'll be passing today. Likely won't film them just because of the weather again. Visibility is not that great, and so getting to see them as we pass doesn't really offer much for the viewer or for us when we are trying to take them. When we left this morning, we checked the weather just to see how things would be, and it was only about a 15 to 20% chance of rain. However, we are sitting now about a mile and a half from our trailhead, and it's pouring, probably more so than it was even for yesterday's hike. The rain with a lot of wind is practically sideways. So it is going to make for a very, very probably slow and not much picture taking type of hike today. Here's where we parked, and here is our hike for today. Whoop. And then we'll probably eat lunch and then head all the way back up.
Say something that will make my day, 'cause these memories of her won't go away. They're haunting me so I can't sleep. She was a pretty little liar who cut me deep.
We have begun our trek on the Corbin Cabin Trail. One of the things you definitely have to be prepared for in any park is the weather. So last update we gave, it was pouring rain. We were donning on all of our rain gear in anticipation of kind of being flooded out as we were hiking. And then right before we left the parking area to get to the trailhead, the rain let up. So we ended up taking off the rain pants. We've kept the rain jackets on just a little bit more for the wind protection because it's still quite windy, but we've got everything with us just in case we get another downpour.
On our hike, it's just an out and back trail, and so to get to the cabin, it's pretty much all downhill there, and then that means when we turn around we're going to be coming all the way back up. And I think the elevation change is anywhere from, like, depending on where we read, it was like 900 feet to 1,300 feet. So going down, it'll be much easier, and then coming back up, I imagine it's going to be much more challenging. So when we get down to the cabin, hopefully we can rest a little bit, have some snacks, and then get geared up and fueled up and ready for the hike back out.
'Cause she left me here alone. Now my bed
One thing that we have noticed on the hikes that we've done so far is the terrain is pretty rocky. So the trails, you know, as they cut through the woods and things like that, there's a lot of rocks on the trail, so you have to be mindful of your footing and where you're stepping, just to make sure that you don't turn an ankle or step funny or anything like that. So that's a little bit different. Trying to recall, I'm sure, you know, lots of places have the rocks on the trail, but definitely something that's been prevalent in what we've been doing so far.
One of the cool things that we've noticed so far on this trail is the moss on both sides of the trail. It's really green, and it kind of like outlines or guides us through the trail, kind of like when you're on the plane and they do their safety speak and they basically say, you know, follow the lights to your emergency exit. So that's kind of what this is like. The moss just kind of lines our trail, and we just keep following it to our destination.
Cobblestone. Oh, where did she go? Oh.
It's getting a little bit warm on the downhill, so there's no rain, so I'm going to take off my jacket, stow it away, and then we'll be on our way.
Was I supposed to know that she'd leave? Was I too naive to think that she'd be the one? Whoa. Why did she go? I met her back in 20.
All right, that definitely feels a lot better.
It was her crooked little smile that caught my eye. Time went by and it was her and I. She promised me to never leave my side, but she left me here alone.
Not sure how well it picks up on video, but the wind, man, when it zips through these trees, it's pretty cool sounding. Like down here in the, like on the trail, it's not too windy, but like up on the top of the trees, it's blowing pretty good, and it's making kind of a cool sound when it comes on through. So I'll try to roll some video in there, and hopefully it picked it up.
It's dumb, I still check my phone, 'cause I can't move on. Whoa. Why did she go? Whoa. Was I supposed to know that she'd leave? Was I too naive to think that she'd be the one? Whoa.
Another thing that we noticed on the trail is, besides the moss that's on the rocks, there's a lot of moss on the trees, and it's this time of year, for whatever reason, it is pretty green. And so that adds a little pop of color compared to all the dead leaves that are on the ground that are all brown and different shades of tan. So it's pretty cool to look at.
Just tell me, why did she go?
Looks like we've almost made it. In the distance there, we can see the cabin. So we're gonna be coming up to the river here pretty soon. So hopefully it is not too big, so that we'll be able to cross with no problem. We have just made it to the river. It doesn't look too bad. I think we won't have any problem crossing. There's a lot of rocks that we're just gonna be able to step on to make it across to get to the cabin.
Why did she go? Whoa. Was I supposed to know that she'd leave? Was I too naive to think that she'd be the one? Whoa. Just tell me, why did she go?
We've just finished crossing over the river and are here at Corbin Cabin. We're going to take off our packs and enjoy some lunch, just rest for a few minutes, and then head back up the trail since we know we've got a lot of elevation to tackle on the way back out. We'll also stop at a cabin that we saw before we crossed the river. From what I recall in my reading about this trail, about this cabin, it's another home site. I want to say the guy's last name was Thomas. If I'm incorrect, I will update you when we get back to the car and I can check it out. Another noteworthy thing to mention is that you can actually stay at Corbin Cabin. I'm not sure if it's a lottery system or you just put in a request for a reservation and the time that you want to be here, but they do have the cabin available for rent. My guess is that it's probably closed for the season. It may just be a summer type thing, but if you're interested, you should always look it up and check it out, and you can live like one of the early settlers in the area.
Dive into the waters. You've been waiting too long. Get in the water. Oh, oh, oh.
My tortillas are a little dry, so I'm making just kind of little half mini roll-ups.
The weather has finally cleared up and the sun is poking through the trees, and we generally have a blue sky out there, so it feels pretty nice right now. So we're gonna just explore around the Corbin Cabin a little bit. There's like another structure over here by the cabin. I'm gonna go take a look to see what it is. It's probably from when the original cabin was here. They have a couple of fences and stuff. I'm just gonna take a look, see what we got.
Lately, I've been going so crazy. It seems like the whole time the ground feels a little bit shaky. Oh, oh, but lately my head is spinning around in a circle. I hear a whisper telling me to be brave.
There's not much up here. It looks like it's just like a fence made out of rocks. I don't see any other structures around besides that.
Time to explore the other cabin.
You better dive into the water. Into the water. You've been waiting too long.
Another successful crossing.
In the water. Into oh, dive into the water.
We have made it to the other cabin. This one is a lot more run down than the Corbin Cabin. But you know, it's still a piece of history and it's still interesting to look at. And when we get back to the car, Kelly can do some research on it to see if it is from the Thomas family or not. We'll let you know.
Been waiting too long. Get in the water. Oh, 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 oh.
Along the trail, there's a ton of acorns on the ground. And so I just found an empty one, and I'm gonna see if I can still kind of make it whistle. We'll see what we can do. Yep, still got it.
In case you couldn't tell, that was very loud. But good job. Another thing I forgot to mention at the cabin is that there is a little bit of mystery and intrigue to it. It is rumored that the cabin is haunted by the wife who passed away during childbirth. I believe it was around 1924. I could be off on that date, but for those who stay there, you might have to let us know if you hear or see anything out of the ordinary.
We have just started the uphill portion of this hike. It's sunny. There's a little bit of wind, so it makes it a little bit more bearable. But, you know, it took us about an hour and 15 minutes to get down. So we're gonna just go slow and steady, take breaks when needed. And then if it takes us another hour, 15 minutes, so be it. But in the end, you know, it'll be a nice, enjoyable hike on up, out from Corbin Cabin.
Maybe this can feel a bit scary. close to the water. Hope your feet will be ready. But maybe you just need a little bit faith now.
Our hike is complete. We did about 3.3 miles in a little over 3 hours, but that did include about an hour, a little bit more of stopping time. So that included our lunch and obviously our filming that we're doing. Came to the sign afterwards just to check and see if it had any information on the cabin. So it was not the Thomas cabin, it was actually the Nicholson cabin was the other cabin that we saw. Corbin, it says, was actually a relative of the Nichols. We are back in the car and getting ready to head out to our next hike, the Limberlost Trail. There's a few overlooks that we're going to stop and see on the way to the trail. Did want to add one additional piece. Looking over my notes that I had made for the trip, the Nichols cabin, which was the one that was falling apart that we had seen, that family had actually lived in the area since the Revolutionary War. So a long time, a lot of history there.
So you better step out and get a little bit wet. Oh.
We have made it to Stony Man Mountain Overlook. The view is much different than it was when we stopped at all the overlooks yesterday. Yesterday it was all completely cloudy. Today it's very nice and clear, so we get a good view of the overlooks. Very nice.
From this viewpoint, you can see a little bit of Old Stony Man in the mountain. It's more of a profile shot, so kind of a big forehead, big nose, and then you got the chin area. It is covered in trees, so you have to use your imagination, as it says here. It takes a little imagination to see the profile of the man's face in the mountain here. Stony Man has lent his name to a summit, an overlook, a hike, a camp resort, a community in the Shenandoah Valley, and a country road down there too.
And just in case we don't get a good picture of it, this is what it is. And we think right here is the nose, probably the brow, then like the mouth, and then a beard. So that is what we think. We will try to get a picture of it, but I don't think we're going to be able to, just from where the sun is, but we will try.
Dive into the water. You've been waiting too long, get in the water.
We are here at Hemlock Springs Overlook. The view is pretty nice, and that tree behind me, fun little fact, it was used in Harry Potter.
So here's your actual fun fact, although it's not a very fun fact. So the hemlock trees used to be prevalent in this area, but unfortunately there was an invasive pest called the hemlock woolly adelgid, which was introduced into the area, which has killed off 95% of the hemlocks that were here in Shenandoah National Park. So the Limberlost Trail that we're going to be doing shortly actually was an old hemlock grove. A lady had purchased, I think it was 1,000 trees to plant in the area. And then the trail got its name after a book title, after a character in a book that the wife had enjoyed reading, and so her husband named the area the Limberlost area. Arrived at the Limberlost Trail, so let's get started. We're here. You can go either direction, but we're doing this pink loop here. A little bit more information of this area. Skyland was originally a privately owned resort in the 1920s. The resort's owners, Addie and George Pollock, arranged horseback excursions into the beautiful and mysterious Limberlost Swamp. And I'm pretty sure, based on what I had read previously, Addie, the wife, was the one who had purchased the hemlock trees for this area. This trail is also ADA compliant and has over 20 resting areas and benches throughout to provide just a chance to soak in the scenery around you, catch your breath, or pause and rest for a moment. Nice relaxing way to hopefully end our afternoon after our hike earlier.
Table, dirty plates on the stove. I don't know if you know where to start.
You you may notice that we are a little bit lighter in terms of our gear. Even though this is a 1.3 mile hike, it's more of a walk, I would say, kind of a stroll through the forest. So we don't have our hiking poles or our big packs. We do have just a small bag with us that's got some water, a couple of snacks, and then a spare jacket just in case we get a little chilly out here.
Where you'd like to be. I'm afraid that I've lost you, 'cause you're hiding from me. Yeah.
We've entered like a different part of the trail. Definitely there's not much green here. They're mostly just trees, and then with a lot of leaves on the ground, so it's very brown, and what we were just in was a little bit more green, so it's a little bit different.
One thing that struck me as we were walking through the forest here is that I haven't hugged a tree lately. We used to always in our hikes, I'd find a cool looking tree, like when we were at sequoias, you know, you have giant trees. Sometimes it's a really skinny tree, but you always gotta find at least one tree and give it a hug.
Shows that it's cost you a lot to be like the rest of us.
A little bit of a trail change. We went from the gravel roadway that we were walking on to a boardwalk. It looked on the map like it's supposed to be for us to cross over water, but I'm not seeing any water here.
Looks like we're coming up to our second crossing. So this one looks like a river.
To be like the rest of us. I've been waiting so long for the storm to arrive.
That was the second of the two bridge boardwalk crossings that were shown on the map. That one did have a nice little stream that was running underneath it, so we stopped for a moment and just listened to the water kind of trickle by. There was a small little waterfall as well, so very relaxing and peaceful indeed. To clarify, since Derek does not like my description of the waterfall, it was rather small, maybe a foot, but they measure waterfalls in feet, so if it's a foot, it's a waterfall.
It's more like the stream was flowing over a rock and creating like some noise.
It's a waterfall.
I know that is in you. I know that is in you. Dancing away with the world in your eyes. Oh, goodbye, Virginia. Goodbye, Virginia.
As you can tell, we've got our jackets on. There is a little bit of a breeze, so there's a chill to the air, and we're not walking all that fast to really get warmed up or anything like that. So jackets are good, and I'm looking forward to the hot apple cider that we have waiting for us in the car. Something to warm us up after we finish the hike.
One of the things that we noticed as we walk through the trail here is we don't really know what a hemlock tree looks like. So we can't tell the dead ones from just another tree that it's fall and their leaves are not on anymore. So that'll probably be one of the things we'll do when we get back and have internet service. So we can kind of see what that is, to see what we're missing. And they don't have any signs at the very beginning to tell you kind of like what they look like, or nothing's labeled. So it is a great mystery, much like the Bermuda Triangle or the pyramids.
It's a head scratcher. It's a brain thumper.
It's a brain teaser.
Ooh. It's a tongue twister.
Probably should get Sculler and Moldy. No, who is it? Who is it? For the X-Files?
Mulder. Scully and Mulder? Yeah.
We should probably get Scully and Mulder out here to
I thought you said
investigate
it backwards. No, you said Molly and Sculder. Like Vin Scully.
Isn't that who it is?
No, what do we?
That's what it was.
Who knows what's going on?
Got your feet on the table.
So in just under an hour, we walked 1.52 miles according to the GPS. Nice level hike. So after our prior one, which had a lot of elevation that we had to tackle, it was nice to kind of just walk level without having to worry about hiking poles and trying to make sure that you're staying vertical and upright. Now it is time to head to the car and get some hot apple cider. As we were walking back to the car, parked next to us was another lady who had just finished the trail. Her name was Lynn, and she offered a lot of great advice. She's from the area and talked about how much she enjoys hiking here in Shenandoah. The central section that we're currently at is one of her favorite areas to come out and hike. And so we just shared a little bit about the hikes that we were looking at doing and asked her what some of her favorite hikes were to go out and see. And thankfully, some of them actually overlapped each other. So some of the upcoming trails that we've got were ones that she recommended. So now we're really looking forward to seeing what else we've got for the week.
So one last thing before we head on out to see the overlooks is that we made our cider, and our water's still hot, which is very nice.
Yours is steaming.
Yeah, and it tastes really good because it's a little bit chilly outside, so you drink it. Very nice. Cheers.
Cheers.
Very good.
Fantastic.
I don't think we're going to hit our last hike today because it is already 4 o'clock and the sun's going to set here in just a little bit, so we'll probably just be able to hit the last couple of overlooks.
Maybe even catch the sunset at an overlook.
Yeah, so here we go.
And you wink in your toes.
We were able to watch the sunset here from Crescent Rock Overlook, or at least the sunset behind the mountain that we have next to us. Much cooler sitting out here, so we put on a couple extra layers while we watch the sunset.
You got eyeballing down to an art that is working too well indeed. I need someone to talk to.
We have just finished up with our second sunset here at Spittler Knoll Overlook. So the first one was just kind of a fake sunset just behind the mountains. However, this one was pretty much a true sunset. Sunset was at 5:01 today, and so we're out here. It's just after 5 now, the sunset. It's pretty spectacular out here. I'm watching the sun go down. As the sun goes down, you can see the different layers of mountains that they have here, the Blue Ridge Mountains. So you can definitely see how it got its name.
We have wrapped up our day here in the park. Overall, it was a very good day. Had a couple of hikes that we were able to do, different views that we saw in terms of the greenery and things like that, and also different elevations and challenges that we faced. Finished up some overlooks as well, and now it's time to head back to the resort and prepare for tomorrow. See you on the next adventure.
When you're hiding from me,